Bit of a change of format today. So I'm going to be talking to Sam of Damp Sam's Damp podcast, and we're going to be looking at the journey from birth to today.
You're going to tell my story. Well, I'm going to tell it, but you're going to prompt me, aren't you?
Yeah, it might be a bit of a long one, this one. So
could be in a couple of parts.
It might be a couple of parts, this one.
War and Peace.
And we might even record it. So we've as part of this format, we're doing interviews as well as Everyday Damp. So over to you, Sam. Where did it all begin? Where were you born?
So I'm from Barnsley, which is a little town in north of England, in between Sheffield, Leeds, Manchester, Huddersfield, Doncaster, Rotherham. We're in middle, aren't we?
Bradford.
And Bradford, yeah. We're in middle. One of the best places to... It's a fantastic place to live, just for location. There weren't much to do apart from go out drinking at night. This is later on, but recently it's they've started to smart the scene up, and we're getting a lovely little town now. So we've got forest all round us, haven't we? We've got Dearn, forest.
I think it's 70% rural.
Yeah.
It's quite a wide geographic for a town. It's got quite a wide geographic area, hasn't it? It's about 70% rural.
Yeah, we have. But when I was born back in 1967, which was
black and white.
This is what I'm going to say. So I've kind of grown up through a lot of different eras, a lot of different times of change. So, and I was thinking about this the other day. So when I was born, sort of back end of 60s, tellies were black and white and just changing to colour. If you could have a telly. My earliest memory is when I was around about 2 or 3. I'm not going to say what my earliest memory is, because your earliest memories are normally to do with pain, isn't it?
Is that right?
Yeah. So it was something to do with, if you imagine Jewish people and
really, is that what happened?
Something like that in hospital, but the house that we lived in, this is how poor we were. The house that we lived in, it was 2 rooms downstairs, 2 rooms upstairs, stairs,
yeah,
no toilet, no bathroom.
Also known as a 2 up and 2 down, weren't it, back then?
Yeah, and I think it was a back-to-back house. It was on Gold Street, which is off Cemetery Road in Barnsley, and you had to go outside to the toilet. That was it. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but we had a tin bath, which is a bit ironic because my dad used to get bathed in a tin bath made of zinc, and when I started work plastering, I used to mix up in a zinc tin bath, which is a bit ironic. Mine were a square bath, but this was rounded on each side.
Luxury version.
And it was prime example of it was in front of fire as well. So all these films that you see with miners getting bathed in front of fire, that's just how it started. Your dad last to get bathed.
I thought you were first.
No, your dad what?
Oh, because he was dirtiest.
Yeah, so dirtiest got bathed last. And when I was born, so I'd have been about, well, I got born, and then around about 2-year-old, living in this house. What my mum used to do sometimes, rather than bath me in tin bath, she'd bath me in sink. So she'd wash me in sink.
Yeah.
So we got this I can. Sometimes I think it was like a Belfast sink, like a white porcelain Belfast sink or stone Belfast sink. And I can remember we had a little electric water heater, and it had like a little metal thing that came off it, and that heated water for sink. So you flicked a switch.
Sounds safe.
Yeah, well, this is it. So you flicked a switch, and this little heater thing, I mean, and it was plastic as well. So that heated water up inside, and then you just turned it on and it emptied, and then you'd have to fill it up again. But it had like a little rubber stopper on end. And I can remember being in sink, getting washed, and my mum must have turned her back or she'd gone somewhere. And like kids do, I can remember putting my mouth around it, and I stuck my tongue in.
Nice.
And my tongue got sucked because I don't know how to do it. I don't know what it's to do with. Like there must have been another opening or other thing where taps were, where water feed came into it. My tongue got
some sort of vacuum.
Yeah, and it got pulled up. So I'm like, yeah, and I couldn't get my tongue out. And my dad were on whatever shift he were on, so he weren't there. And my mum were like panicking, couldn't get me out. I just got my tongue stuck up this water feed. So that neighbours come in, they were trying to get me out, but every time they tried pulling my head, it was pulling my tongue. So
sounds like Dumb and Dumber.
And it was worse than that. So they ended up having to get fire brigade. So fire brigade ended up coming, and they ended up cutting metal thing off with an hacksaw.
Right.
And it released pressure, and they got my tongue out. So that one of my earliest memories of Gold Street, and if you can imagine, if you've ever seen Kes, this is what we were like. There's photos of us, black and white photos of me, Eamon Nolan, because our house was actually on Gold Street, but then there were like a little square that there were a block of toilets that ran down middle with some outhouses, and there were like cobbles went round it.
Yeah.
So you've got like some back-to-back houses on right, back-to-back houses on left, and all neighbours knew each other. It was like a little community thing. And then another story. I mean, I'm gonna make me out to be a right wild child, but I'd have been around about 3, and milkman used to come, and he used to pull up and park his milk float kind of just inside gates of this like sort of, well, and in front of the toilet, and there were like a bit of a hill going down to brick outhouses, and one of them places where you'd always have your doors open and stuff like that. So I must have like wandered out while milkman were putting his milk in all things with his like they have
crates.
Yeah, they have a thing to hold all milks, and then they go and put them all in little crates outside the doors.
Yeah.
So unbeknown to anybody, I must have walked down, climbed inside milk float, and then took handbrake off, and it's rolled forward and smashed into all what they call it, into toilet, into brick outhouses.
Sounds like a Benny Hill sketch, Sam.
So my mum's come flying out, and milkman's come running over, going absolutely crackers, blaming me for crashing his milk float. So of course my mother were a bit fiery. She's had a right go at him, like saying you shouldn't leave milk float unattended with kids about. So I don't know what happened over that, whether there were any insurance or whether I were hurt or not. But that was just one of the stories what my mum told me. And then, this is a beauty. This this were in Chronicle and all.
Chronicle being
Barnsley Chronicle, which is just, it's a thing that everybody in Barnsley reads religiously every Friday, basically to see if they know anybody that's at court
or died
or died, and it's a broadsheet, so it's probably one of the last remaining broadsheets in England. It's got to be
local. I would say on a local level.
Well, I don't know what is. Guardian still a
Well,
broadsheet.
Sunday Times is, I think, Guardian.
Yeah, so it's
still
as big
is,
as Sunday Times, isn't it? It's
yeah.
massive. So yeah, straight across what Nolan's, and there were a lass called Ellen. She'd only, how old would she have been?
How old are we at this time?
I'd have been about 4 when this happened, or 5, and Ellen would have been. She's 2 years younger than me. I think she'd have been about 3, maybe even 2. Well, they used to have these things for drying clothes, and it had a lid on top, and it like had these I don't know, these things that spun round.
I think they were called a tumbler, weren't they?
Yeah, but it was just a weird shape.
You did your washing in like 3 parts.
Well, yeah, so apparently they'd set it going, and Ellen, she'd got up on worktop. I don't know if she's climbed up on worktop, whether it were on floor, but somehow she's lifted the lid up and fell in while it were going, and they didn't know that she were in. And then
getting rattled around in.
I don't know whether she made a noise or whatever, but Liz has gone over and she's sort of lifted the lid, found that she were in, and she was purple. She'd gone purple.
Really?
So yeah, she nearly did. Yeah, that was a story that we didn't bounce. In fact, Ellen still goes on about it. She's on Facebook and she still keeps putting. I think she's got clippings of when it happened.
You didn't push it then, no?
No, well, no, we weren't there. But I just remember my mum telling me about this story, because I weren't there at the time, but I can just remember my mum telling us about a story. And then, obviously, over the years, it were like as if it were a bit of a myth. But then Ellen, she put all clippings on Facebook, from Barnsley Chronicle. And then, when at other times, we were, there were a couple who lived on Bottom Row, and they'd had a wedding, and they'd come back to house, and they were going to go on honeymoon. So all neighbours had gone round, and they'd had a few. I think they'd had a bite to eat in house and everything, and then they've all come out, and they've kind of seen them off on their honeymoon. I don't know where they were going, Scarborough or whatever.
Brid.
Yeah, something like that, and. So it's a bit like on, Lola and Hardy on that. I don't know if you've seen that episode with they keep getting in car and packing car up, and he's like, "We're going now, right? Bye, we're going." And then they go to set off, and then they forgot something, and then they can't get off. And it's a bit like that. Bye, we're going now. And anyway, they set off and they went, and then my mum's like, "Was our Simon?" And then Liz is saying, "It was Eamon. Eamon and our Simon." Like,
Who's Eamon?
Eamon was Liz's and Ellen's brother. Eamon Nolan. He went on to be a priest, actually. He played for England schoolboys, brilliant footballer. But when he left school, and he went cock at squill, and then he ended up going and being a priest. He's got a good.
The same age as you, were he?
He was a year above me. He was Alison's year. So then there was this mass manhunt looking for me and Eamon. And they looked everywhere, high and low, up and down streets, everywhere, for hours looking for us. And then, as it's dropping dark, somebody's looked up at window at house at them who was gone on honeymoon, and me and Eamon were like waving out at window, top window. So one at neighbours had to break in and get us out.
They blocked you in.
Yeah,
sounds like Tom Sawyer.
I think we must have hid in when everybody were here. We must have like got in a cupboard or something.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't remember being in a house, but this is one of the stories off my mum told me. So,
of course, that time as well, it was quite an airy place to live, weren't it? It would have been around Moore's murderers, would it?
Oh, no, you're right. Late 60s, yeah.
Late 60s, yeah. So Moore's murderers being one of the most famous pair of serial killers in the country, which is less than probably about, what would you say, 20 miles away?
If that.
If that. Well, yeah, because we're on Oldham Moors, weren't it, on top, so we're about 15, 20 miles away from Manchester, where we live now. So at that time, it was quite a
It was.
Right
obviously,
intention, weren't it?
as a kid, I wouldn't know.
No.
Oblivious to it.
As a kid, I was never allowed out of, some people's sight at the time. It was horrendous.
So my mum always hated that house. She absolutely hated it. I think it was a scruffy house, and she just hated it. She didn't want to buy it in the first place, I didn't think. And
is it still up?
No, it got knocked down, mate.
I think a lot got knocked down that didn't have bathrooms in, didn't they?
Yeah, I think it had some kind of subsidence, or it had issues with it. And my mum sold it to I think one of my relations, either my cousin who just got married. They bought it, and she never moved in.
So your mum hated it, but she sold it to her cousin.
Yeah, but she didn't want to sell it. But this cousin, I think it was Adenise, she like kind of begged, or Lorraine, begged her to have this house, and my mum says, well, we'll sell you it. Like, anyway, sold it, and they never moved in. I don't know why, but my mum had got this house right corner on Cemetery Road, number 57, and we moved in there, and that seemed to be a lovely house. It was like you got, but it was still only 2-bedroom. Got nice front room, bay window, garden at front. You went through alleyway. There were a door on left. You went in, the kitchen in back, and there were like a bit of a lean-to conservatory on back, and then a massive garage. What I thought were massive, like that you accessed off another street around the other side, and it was a lovely house. But me and my sister had to share a bedroom. They just weren't big enough. So they did have plans to go up into attic and kind of extend up there, but it was just too much messing about.
Did it have inside bathroom, this one?
This had luxury. It had an inside bathroom, yeah, and toilet and everything. So this a bit of luxury. But and I think I've mentioned it on one of other podcasts. So during one night we were asleep, me and my sister, and they were walking up with this like huge explosion, and it was just a massive explosion, like Armageddon. All windows were put through on front, and I think some on back. And I mentioned it on my sister's podcast because I talked to her about it, what her first memories were of this explosion. All I can remember is my mum crying on the toilet, and then we got kind of whisked away to as grandmas that lived at Kendry. And what had happened was there were some houses straight across. There's like it's just a green, like a park with a bench on it. And there were about 4 terraced houses that were there. And Guy had left his gas on. And he's come back and he's switched light on, and it just blew all row up. But it was that time when, again, it was IRA, so it was troubles in Ireland and that. So you didn't know what it was. And I always think back, and I was thinking about it the other day. A lot of stuff that's happened, as you'll hear when I'm telling these stories through my life. I just wonder whether I've got that PTSD traumatic thing.
Well, you do twitch a bit sometimes.
Yeah, but it's
if anybody slams the door, you're under the table, aren't you?
But when I think about it, it's growing up. Never there were never any mention of mental health issues, because it was just life. You just got on with stuff, and people. My take on it is everybody's got mental problems that you deal with, and it's. I think if somebody highlights it and says, you go to a doctor and they say you've got mental problems, then you've then got a label, and then you carry that with you. So now, with me being a bit brainier now, as I've got older, and I'm looking back through my life at different things that sort of happened to me, I think, well, I probably did have my own mental issues, but I've just kind of got on with it. Do you know what I mean? I've kind of put them to the back of my mind and got on with them. So, I mean, if psychiatrists listen to this in year 3000, they'll probably say he definitely had a slate loose.
The thing that's happened in more recent years is that mental health has been so generally, going back 20 years, probably before that, mental health weren't seen as a thing in the same way that your physical health is seen.
No.
Your mental health. The only time you address mental health were when something was wrong with you.
When you proper broke down.
So if anybody mentioned
when I was
mental,
young, you got sent to Stores Hall. So
what's that?
It was mental hospital.
Yeah. So mental health.
Women got sent there when they were having periods.
Well, yeah. Women got sent there if. I've read some terrible stuff about if you had a child too young.
Yeah.
If you had a child at 15, and I read some at this is awful, and it's going to put a bit of a downer on this, but I work for a mental health trust. I work for NHS, and it were a record of what they used to do were some places they'd have these houses, they'd be isolated houses, and they'd put people who were deemed mentally ill in them, and it were an image I saw a couple of weeks ago, and it were two twins. There were two twin sisters living in this mental institute. It was last one in country. It were about 1972 or something like that. Black and white picture, and there were last two residents, and they'd lived in this mental health institution their entire lives, and the only thing that they'd ever done wrong were sister. One of them had got pregnant at 15, had to get baby away, and they'd put her into a mental health institute. We, a twin sister who'd done nothing wrong, spent their entire lives in this mental health institute. So they didn't have anything wrong with them when they went in, but I think they ended. I didn't find end of story. I'm pretty sure they died in there, but
this is what it was like.
They ended up.
This is what it was like in past. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, there's still wrongs getting done now, but this is it's kind of a different era. 60s, 70s, 80s even, and we'll probably touch on different stuff as we're going through the story. But
I think we'll look back. Year 3000, as you say. I think in even 50 to 100 years' time, we'll look back on the times that we're at now. That's if we're all still around and nobody's pressed that red button,
like we do with Dickens times and stuff like that.
We'll be seen as no more civilized as we were in Victorian times.
I agree.
I think that's the way it will be. I think.
I mean, talking about mental barriers and stuff like that. So we'd moved over to Cemetery Road, and when I was living at Gold Street, there were a woman who lived in corner on in sort of square bit at back of our house, and me and Eamon used to play football, so we'd kick ball to each other like a little ball or whatever. And when we'd moved over there, this day I was going round to Gold Street to play with Eamon. It was on a Saturday. I had to go again. I think I'd only been about 5, crossing the Cemetery Road. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there wouldn't have been that many cars around.
I don't know. It's still busy.
Still
the main road.
I think when I were a kid, I must have had 9 lives. The amount of times I nearly got run over.
So I've gone round, and I was scared to death of Mrs. Heelbeck. She was like that witch off her, what they call it,
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz. She was, that one that got killed. She was like her.
Yeah.
But like, she's got dark hair, and she was just really like shouty and spiteful, and never smiled, and she was just awful.
I think everywhere had one of them, didn't they?
Yeah. But that might have just been to kids. She just simped. Anyway, we were playing football this day, and we were like running around block of toilets and that. So he'd got a set of nets there, and I got a set of nets there, and ball were bouncing, and I think it were only a little tennis ball, and I've kicked it up in air off at top at toilet blocks, and I just heard this massive like crash of glass, and my heart just sunk, and I just thought I've smashed window, and I set off running, out at thing because I knew it was her house, And I set off running round and went back to house. I went coming house. And I went all the way around. You know, you get that thing in your throat. You wanted to cry.
Yeah.
I got that all the way around. Like I probably ran straight across the road without looking.
Fastest you've ever ran,
mate. Ran it house, and I just sobbing and that. And my dad's like, "What's up?" And I'm like, "I think I've brought Mrs. Eelbeck's window." Anyway,
did you get any sympathy?
No,
You didn't used to get that, did you?
But then Eamon must have followed me around, and he come to the door and to see where I'd run off for, and he come round and I says, "Have I smashed window?" And he says, "No, it had landed on milk bottles she'd got on."
Okay.
And it had knocked him off and smashed.
Yeah.
But that was last time I went round there for. I just didn't want to go round anymore because I didn't want to see her. But then I think it was about a week later. I went round, and she come out and she started on at me, but I got this like bravery then, and I cheeked her back, I chelped back at her.
She'd survived first encounter.
Yeah, and I saw her face like change because I'd chelped back. Had
she lost her power? Did she lose her power?
A grip over me.
Yeah,
and when I went after that, I think it was partly because I didn't live there either. She couldn't come to the house.
Did she not know where you live now either?
Probably, but I don't think she came round. But then I kind of walked off. I didn't go back round anymore, but because I'd chelped back at her, I felt this like sort of weight lifted,
stature,
and I felt like a bit. So that was one of the mental barriers that sort of were broke down then. And after that we moved not long after that. So my mum and dad they'd had their eye on this house at Montbreton, which was brand new estate, Riverdale estate. And
what year are we talking now, Sam?
This was 1975.
So we're moving into sort of modern era house building now.
Yeah, so
you'd have electricity and.
So they'd bought off plan, and it was first street that they'd built, Newlyn Drive, on estate. So they'd broke into field.
Yeah.
And this was first street on that were built. So there's just one road going down, and they'd started putting houses up, and there was one family that had moved in before us. We were second family, and then I'd got like a mental thing where I were like, we were like, when they moved out, these two families that had been there before us, we were like longest on the estate. So we'd been there longest. Whether you got out for that, I don't know. But I just
no
in my
badge
head,
or chains around,
so I'd got this like thing where we'd been there longest, and then as other houses were being built, like kids, the families came with kids and started building up your friendships with young lads who were there. So there were me. They built another street. I think it called Bodmin Court, and I met Jeff, who was a couple of years older than me. He went to Rayleigh, and ended up being good mates with him. And then there were like a few other lads. Dave Chambers lived at Bottom Street. He was a couple of years younger than me. And then David and Lee all lived on thing. And that were like our kind of gang for that. Then there were another kid called Simon Hilton and a kid called Kyle Milner who moved on. So we got like a bit of a gang.
Yeah.
Not a gang as such.
Like Bash Street kids.
We just all knocked about together. So we'd sort of all meet, we'd all play football.
Yeah.
And then at back of me there were a field, and we made some nets because it were a building site. You could get all sorts.
Oh yeah.
So we got scaffold and everything.
Yeah.
And built some like little nets. And then one day we saw these other lads, Mickey Carr, a lad called Brookie, Das Sykes, a load of others, Phil Swan. They were we called them Shelley drivers.
Oh yeah,
Swifty.
Yeah.
So they were our gang, and then they were their gang, and we used to play football against them.
We had a similar setup at where I lived on Ibbison Avenue. We were known as Ibilot. we sounded like Beano characters. Ibilot. Everyone had a bit, and then there were. It used to be Ibilot. Take whoever on. And I think there were 3 streets. There were Darton Lane, Longlands Drive, and some others. And similar sort of thing. We had a park at back of our house, and we'd play in there. Some were, it were 3 hour matches, first to 20 on a Sunday afternoon, FA Cup or whatever. And then I think in summer when it were cricket season, we used to do full test matches through 6-week holidays. The rules we used to make up were just ridiculous. But we were quite. Looking back, I'm surprised at how organised we were, because there weren't pitches marked out, but we had these rudimentary rules. If you hit ball with bat and it went behind, it was 6 and out. If you knocked it into somebody's guard and it didn't touch the floor, you were at 6 and out again. Tennis balls and footballs and
that was it. So we'd got we got like two kind of. They weren't. When I said gang, we were just like groups of lads.
That's what it were. It
weren't a gang
locality
as such. You know what I mean? We weren't like Crips and Bloods.
Yeah.
So, although we did used to have like a bit of conflict, so what we'd got, our playground were a building site.
Yeah.
So all these houses were being built. So on a weekend or on a night when all builders had gone, we went onto the building site.
Of course you did.
They used to have a little lad, a little bloke with a little Westie, and he they'd asked him to just walk around every now and again.
Oh yeah,
to
probably
stop anybody.
Not like formal security.
Oh no,
no. Yeah.
So we'd just go in houses and just playing. So, but what we used to do is climbing. So we'd be on scaffold climbing.
Scaffold, yeah.
Well, if you look at my head, I've got like a load of scars all over my head. So that's with bringing them on putlocks. Yeah, scaffold putlocks. So we're walking up thing, bang, and say up to hospital, A&E, stitches. I've got scars under my chin. Once I think he came, old man, and he came in front door, and a lot of these were built on hills, and they'd not got no steps at front. Now they've got like you go up these steps to them, but they'd not been built. Yeah. So one day I tried getting out at the front door and lowering my son down, but I couldn't hold my own weight, so I just like dropped and smashed my chin on.
You just let go.
Yeah. So then Fantastic. Up to hospital again, stitches.
Did they know you by first name by time?
I think so. Yeah. And then one of the things that never crossed my mind about they used to.
Did your mum never used to say no more smashing your face in?
They always
on building sites.
They didn't like it when it's come home covered in blood, and it's like, what's happened now? But they had like a massive. They built. Imagine the building houses, so they shoved all topsoil into like a massive mound, but it had like a massive trench in middle. So they dug all middle out, and all sides were up, but it just used to fill with water. And I think that they used to use that water for mortar and everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when I first went to college, like, you learn about slate pits, what's called slate pits. So they used to throw out lime in, and that's how they used to build houses. But I just thought it were like because we'd go up there and we'd just be skimming stones on it and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So that were our building site. We used to make dens, so we'd get old bricks and we'd build a proper den with like rooms in it and everything, and we'd put like timbers on top.
Yeah.
So we'd have like a proper den, and then you come after the weekend, it had all been knocked down.
Somebody'd
but we'd be like
and smashed it to pieces.
But we'd be going by me as if like, I dare that. What they knocked our den down for? And I can remember one of Jeff's mates, Steve Evans. We built this den, and it was best one we'd ever built. Bottom of Jeff Street, smack next to where mixer was for mortar. This massive mixer and sand, and we kind of built it like half on sand and half on road. So it took us a full day to get all bricks. Like Jeff were laying them, we were all fetching them and we were putting them on. So we did them like proper bond and that, and we did it double all the way around, and then put these things on. But you had to like crawl to get in, and it was
so like an igloo.
Yeah. So, but when you went in, it was like pitch black. But we had a couple
of. It were.
We had a couple of with no windows in it.
Yeah.
So you just went in, But we used to have matches back then, so you'd lead to match. But as I'm going in, Steve Evans was going in before me, and as he's going in, I'm like following him behind him. So he's going in, and what he did was he flicked 2 handfuls of sand. And as I'm going in, you know how your eyes, like your pupils dilate to get used to darkness?
Yeah.
I got 2 massive handfuls of sand smacking my eyes, and I thought I was blind. I was screaming, comes out, and I was trying to get this sand out of my eyes. I'm like pulling my eyes down, and they were just full. I couldn't like open my eyes, you know what I mean? I couldn't, if I tried to open them, it was just hurting that much. And it took absolutely ages to get it all out. I mean, he was like a few years older than me, but he was getting watted at it.
Oh, of course he was, yeah.
Putting it
Bit
in.
of battery acid in it. And
anyway, eventually I could more or less see, but it must have scratched all my eyes with, with sharp sand.
Well, it's like each of your lens.
Honestly, it took weeks for them to be right. But again, could have blinded me. Is it That's what they were like.
Another near miss.
Well, that's what he was like, Steve Evans. He were a nightmare. But that's for just growing up. I just remember 1976, hottest summer that we had. We went up to theirs on Rotherham Road and we were playing football in field. And we were all like, we'd got no water.
Yeah.
And he lived on them new. There's we called them new. There's some bungalows there, and. We went through thing to get a drink at his house. We've been playing for about 3 hours. I'm like, Pat, get a drink at yours, Steve. So
outside tap or
no, he went inside. We'd all to stand outside door. His mum wouldn't let us in.
Oh, same.
So then he went in. I could hear him like pulling thing, and it was like a pint pot.
Yeah.
Like proper clean as old, like a brand new one. And he gave Jeff it. Jeff like guzzled it down because they were like absolutely sweating and that. Went back in because it only got one glass.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Filled it up, fetched it back out, get it to somebody else, took it back in. And it was my I think everybody had a drink, and it was my turn. So he fetched it out for me, and I was like, I'd been watching everybody, all like water dripping off the chins and that. So I was like slavering, I was like 30 years old.
Like you just walked through Sahara.
Yeah, so I gets this pint pot, starts glugging it down, and he'd filled it with salt. Salt water.
Fantastic.
I nearly spewed up. So I got like first 2 things down me, like glugs, and then my stomach was just turning over. And every time I thought about it, they were all laughing, weren't they? Laughing their ears off.
We had a similar sort of, what were he called?
Steve Evans.
We had a Steve Evans. Were he oldest or were he?
It was same year as Jeff, so he was like
a bit
2 years older than me.
Yeah. So a similar sort of thing. We had a Steve Evans in our clan. It was like a carbon copy as you cut out, and I can always remember we were having a water fight. So back in them days, there were no super soakers. You had whatever you could get your hands on. So it tended to be a water bottle off your bike or fairy liquid bottle. So we'd all been, it must have been 6 weeks holidays, so July, August time, and the lad who I'm talking about now is a pharmacist. He's one of the most responsible people you'd ever meet in your life. But back then, they were just a bloody nightmare. If anything to upset anybody, he'd do it. So we're all happy, playing water fights, water bombs and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, I get squirted in the eyes and I get blinded. And then he had 2 brothers that were twins as well. They went as well. So it tended always to be younger ones versus older ones. And they went down, and also we're all sort of crying his eyes out and stuff. And it turned out it got with fairy liquid bottle, and then it filled it with fairy liquid, just squirted straight in eyes as well, straight in eyes. And his mother went absolutely mental with him. And then he's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll sort it out." And then he filled it full of hot water. Then fairy liquid bottle. I'll sort it out. He's sort of like squirting your bag straight in eyes then to try and clear your eyes out. It did work, yeah, with red hot water then. So it's like chemical burns and then 3rd-degree burns afterwards. But there's always a Steve Evans in story. He were terrible. Everything he used to be. But like I said, nicest person in the world now, pharmacist.
Well, we'd got so we'd got like as kind of as group of kids who were all knocked about. So that were our estate. And then you got Shelley drivers. And we used to play football, but we didn't really get on when we were 8 young. So it were only as we were getting older, we got on a bit better with them. So when we first met them, so we were on a building site or we beat fields, we just used to brick each other. That's what you did. So we'd be probably near a pile of limestone or something. So you'd be picking bricks up.
Yeah.
So we'd be throwing bricks at them. They'd be throwing bricks at us.
Yeah.
Like, how we got doing that? I think probably because you saw
we had
troubles in Ireland and that.
We had similar. We had a similar sort of thing. So this park that we had, it had 2 flower beds, and it had 3, and it had a circle in the middle. So there were a flower bed in the middle that were a circle, and then 2 big rectangular flower beds. And when they dug it up, all soil used to, it had hardened and it turned into clods of mud. So you could pick them up and they'd be dry. And I'll never know how we used to get on with it, but we'd just throw. So one would stand at one side and one would stand at the other, and we'd be throwing these mud balls on. So lad who I'm talking about again, I'm going to name him now. It's called Tristan. He'd bit wood who would be pulling. He'd get bricks out. He'd bit wood that would find stones. He'd be throwing them. And I remember I used to have a load of nicknames as a kid, but one were Radar because it didn't matter where they threw it. It always used to find my head. I used to get smashed on head, cut on head, every single time.
Well, back then, obviously, I think we were up to about 1970. I think it was about 76, and we used to have this thing where you get your knuckle and you'd go like that and skim back of their head.
Crowpeck.
But it was like the kid at our school used to do it, Dickie, and he was brilliant at it. So he'd do it right fast down back of your head, and it'd burn. So he'd be like, but it didn't used to cut your head. So we were like playing at back of Jeff's house in this big field with that thing of water, with moundies, with great thing of water. And I could just remember seeing like Bunner and Swifty and all them on the other side, and I'm like, Shelley drivers are over there, Jeff. He's like, oh, just ignore them and that. Because we kept getting tailed off for bricking each other and stuff like that. Their mums had got to.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm walking up. We were walking up to top bit, like which would be Burton Road. It's probably where bus stop is now. So I'm walking up there, and all of a sudden I felt this crowpeck on back of me, like what you would call a crowpeck, whatever, on back of me head. And I turned round, and I'm like, chuffing hell. Rub it back of my hand like that. And I turned round, and Jeff was behind me, and I think David Hall, and I says, well, that you? And it was just stinging and stinging and stinging, burning. And when I went like that and looked at my hand, it was just bright red blood all over my hand. And it was one of them had thrown a brick, and it had hit me on back of my ear.
Yeah. I think we're on about 3 lives now, aren't we?
I know. So then obviously up to hospital again.
Hiya Sam, what are you in for today then? Do you want usual bed?
But then we recruited another member to our gang because they were a bit more streetwise than us, and this kid who he knocked about, he were at junior school with Jeff. I tell you, first time I met him, I mean, he was absolutely silent it down. God bless him. And people that know me and that know lads that we knocked about with, when I mention his name, they'll be like, that's him. First time I ever met him, we were at Honeywell, because Jeff used to go to Honeywell school. He knew all Honeywellers, so we'd kind of walk up Honeywell and just hang around there. So
Honeywell's basically opposite side at Valley. So Barnes had been a bit of a valley, isn't it? And then
so first day, he says, Jeff says, we're going up town, and then we're gonna meet this kid. So I says, all right. And anyway, we walked it up Old Mill Lane, and we're at County Ways now.
Yeah.
For all that were like developed. On there, there were like a wall with telephone exchanges with a wall, and it's next to the railway line. There used to be like a long, it was like a long concrete, like a bunker. It obviously used to be a building for storing stuff or whatever, but we used to do dares and things. So we got up there, and you went in one door, and it was pitch black, and it were really long. So it were about 15 meters long, and then there were a door at the other side. But it were like you couldn't see any light because it were like you went in and it were like a zigzag.
So would it derelict this?
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, I think it was used by railway.
I'm just checking whether we've moved on from trespassing. Are we on breaking and entering now?
So I think it was railway land.
Yeah.
So we'd gone in. Anyway, he says, so we meets this lad, and they called him Graffy.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know him from Darton?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, like I say, he's passed away now, God bless him. But so it was Graffy, a kid called Graffy, Paul McGrath. And Graffy found these yellow detonators.
Oh, really?
They used to have detonators on railway lines. I think they used to put them online if if they're working online.
Yeah.
They'd put them further down line on track so that if a train ran over it, it'd make like a massive bang.
So they'd know that
they'd know if a train were coming.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
if signals had thingied.
So we're not talking dynamite.
But they used to store these. So
yeah.
of course, Graffy had found them many.
Did you know what they were?
I didn't at time.
Right.
But I had an idea.
You soon found out.
I just thought they were derelict anyway. So he's got these detonators. So there was that we went into the thing and made it to other end and got out at other end.
You had to
there.
You had to go through this dark
that we couldn't see what were in there.
Yeah.
Didn't know whether any drops are out in floor or
really,
and it was just all wet and big puddles and that. We got no matches at all. So they dared us to do it. So
you could see other side, could you? Or you had no idea. So you just
when
to
you went in, it was a zigzag.
Yeah.
And then you had to go in and then your eyes had that, and it was just pitch black, and you had to just go with your hands.
And how big we talking?
It was 15 meters long. So
15 meters,
and it was about 2. You could stand up in it, so it was like
it's
about
like
2 meters high,
like a bunker,
like a concrete bunker.
A concrete bunker, one entrance,
flat roofed, yeah. And so he says, I'll go to the other end because he dared us to do it. So he says, well, we'll go together. There were 3 in us. I think there were me, Jeff, and David Hall. So we goes into bunker like that,
yeah.
and we're all holding on to each other. We start shuffling through like bit at a time. Jeff's like taking one step at a time. We're all holding on to each other. Graffy had gone to other end, so we gets like halfway through. He'd gone into door at thing and put it down and got a breeze block and threw breeze block on detonator. It absolutely it made a great big crack bang, louder than any banger that you could have, and because it were like a tunnel,
close space.
My ears just started ringing, but like an all shock and all, and it were like, oh my God. Anyway, we got to other end. He was like laughing his head off, wasn't he? They just. Is
this another like out back to your PTSD now?
It's got to be. I with loads of stuff like that, but obviously that was just like man test, wasn't it? Like, you know what I mean? It was just a test.
Testing
so
grounds.
Passed test.
You passed it.
So, but Jeff recruited Graffy for our gang.
Oh yeah.
So in 6 weeks holidays, like obviously I don't know what happened, but Graffy it'd just be out all day. So he'd go out at like 7 in the morning, and he'd just stop out while 10 at night.
Some nights he'd for his tea.
Some nights he'd make a fire, or he'd say, I'm going to stop in camp. So.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Tom Sawyer.
So I remember this one day in 6 week holidays. Jeff's like, "Oh, Graffy's coming up. We're gonna. I think we were protecting camp. So we built a den. Yeah. We were protecting den from Shelley Roaders because we'd heard Shelley Roaders were coming around.
Yeah.
Anyway, Graffy come up and he fetched a tin of beans. So
yeah,
got a tin of beans. We got a fire going.
No tin up in there.
No tin up in there.
Oh, absolutely.
So he had to get a breeze block, and he just smashed it until it opened, and they were eating it. They'd not even warmed up. They were just cold beans.
No.
So that was another one of his.
I tell you, this is modern day. This is 70s Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn.
So anyway,
story.
That was kind of my first meeting with Graffy, and like I ended up knowing him for quite a few years, and. Everybody knows that, like, all different stories. He were a great lad. So then we're in like sort of we're up to about 76, which was long hot summer.
Hottest on record, I believe.
Until other year when we were on
Or
lockdown.
2000.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
I think that bet it. But we went to Cornwall that year on holiday, but and that were a long drive. But one of the things I was going to say, I was fittest kid in Montbreton when I was younger.
Is that a fact or?
This is fact. And
Fact.
the reason why I was fittest kid in Montbreton, my mum would never buy me a bike.
Right.
So I didn't get a bike until I was 15.
Why would she not get you on?
She thought they were dangerous.
Well, judging by your past record,
Yeah.
6 times a week to hospital.
But all my
maybe.
mates had bikes.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
And all my mates had bikes, and they used to go off, like, because it was summer holidays and that, they'd be like, Jeff would be like, oh, we're going to go off today.
Yeah.
They'd all get, like, sandwiches and stuff, some pop and that, for when we got there. And they used to go to Cawthorne Park.
Which is probably maybe about 6 or 7 miles away from here.
So they'd all go on bikes, and I'd run outside of them. So
You'd run.
Yeah.
You'd run.
So I had to run outside of them.
And how old were you then?
I'd have been about, I think I'd have been about 13, 12 or 13.
So you were doing...
11 because when I started going at boys' club, I kind of stopped doing all that knocking around. So I'd have been about 11.
11.
And then...
so you used to run it alongside as they were
wherever they
bikes.
went, if they were going anywhere up on shops or whatever, or off foot, I had to run outside at bike.
So at that time, it would have been like Rally Chopper.
Some rape thighs on me.
Yeah.
I could jump over an house when I was younger.
Right, so it would have been like Rally Chopper or...
Jeff had Chopper. He had first edition Chopper, Redden, with thing in middle.
Gear.
Yeah, in middle, because on second edition, they got rid of that on middle, because lads kept falling off it. And I have done that, because Jeff used to let me ever go on his, obviously not brilliant at riding a bike.
Yeah.
And I've gone down street, slid on turning corner, front tyres slid, and I've gone straight.
They were horrendous, weren't they?
Yeah.
I think there were a fair few torn scrotums, I think, during
Jeff,
that.
I can remember Jeff tore his knackers on it.
Did he?
Yeah, I can remember.
Yeah.
It was either that or side of his leg. I can remember him doing it.
Or gooch.
He ended up, just on side,
right,
I think.
Okay.
But I remember he had to go to hospital.
Yeah.
So then.
So why did nobody get you on back or?
I did sometimes on back of Jeff's, because he got that little thing, but they're hard to. It took 2 people on one of them. They are hard to.
They weren't best bikes, were they?
No.
Really? A Rally Chopper. I don't. I think they looked better than they were more aesthetic than functional, weren't they?
So I think it was for my 14th birthday. It weren't my 15th. It was 14th birthday. She decided to get me a bike, and she says, "We're going to take you to Woolworths for you to pick a bike out."
Yeah.
So we're like, all right. But I didn't know what about bikes. I knew that Jeff had just got a racer.
Yeah.
I think he chopped his. I think Jeff was an only child, by the way. So
I'm getting that vibe. Yeah.
I think he didn't get rid of his chopper. I think he had a racer as well.
Yeah.
So I decided to get a racer.
Jeff got everything first, did he?
Oh, he had everything. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
It was brilliant going around to Jeff's.
Yeah, go around to Jeff's house.
Beauty. Oh, he had a lot. He had everything.
Grand Prix scale electrics.
Yeah, scale. He had everything.
It had light switching.
So she says, "Oh, we're going to take you to Woolworths." I can remember after school, goes to Woolworths. Me and mum and my dad goes up escalator, and that's where bike section was, top at escalators. And
where would that have been then? Middle of Barnsley.
You know where Holland and Barrett is?
I do know. Yeah, that was their building, wasn't it?
So, yeah. So you went in, and then you went upstairs.
So it were a full-on department store, then, weren't it?
And Rally was straight as you come up.
Yeah.
What they call it, up escalator. So I seen this bike, and I thought, right, that's all right. Well, I didn't know. I weren't into names or out like that then.
Yeah.
I was never into brands and stuff like that. But I just saw
stuff's changed.
Well, it was just a racer. So I just thought I'm going to have a racer. Seen this racer, brown. It had an eagle on it. Rally something or other. My mum says, sit on it and see if it. So I got on it. Got on saddle and that, and I could touch floor.
Yeah.
With my feet, which were brilliant. So I said, "Oh, I have that. Get this one." So they paid for it and that. Anyway, we took it home. Probably didn't do half the stuff you're supposed to do with a brand new bike. So I just remember brakes were always crap. So I think you're supposed to tighten them up. I think you're
I
supposed to
take
tighten
it your
cob.
dad didn't get involved, did he?
I can't remember. I think he probably did at some point. But anyway, well, all I can remember is this. I had it for about 3 or 4 months. In fact, it might not even been that. It might have been 2 months. And Mum was like, why aren't you going on your bike anymore? Bear in mind, I was like 14 when I got it.
Yeah.
2 months. It was like a kid's bike. I was like those them clowns at circus with little bikes. So I just tiny his bike.
Growth spurt, was it?
So it was just too small for me. And then I think I ended up like getting some cow horns and putting them on instead, and it weren't a good experience. When I first got it, it fitted brilliant. But in 2 months, it was like I was like somebody out at circus. I just looked ridiculous on it. I was like a man on a child's bike, just driving around. So then as it gets that, I did go on it a lot. I'm not knocking it. I just grew out of it straight away. And they didn't get me another. So
no, that were it. You had your one chance. And
I was asking for a motorbike then, and they were like that. They were gonna, and then they weren't, because we'd got fields all around us.
Yeah.
So we used to like go down woods and stuff. We had big wood and small wood, bunny wooding, all that sort of stuff. What kids did, we did all them things. Going to Blackwood Hodge, getting petrol, going around burning other people's bonfires down because they burnt ours down last year. And I mean, this is where I was like, always covered in diesel. So I didn't know diesel smelt, but when you're carrying it for a bonfire, and it were other kids who all set matches and that, and I think Gary Richards, it was him that used to have all petrol all the time. He used to burn everybody's bonfire down.
Yeah, he didn't burn any houses down, did he, with people in them?
No, but this is a story with Gary.
So let's just go through crimes already. We're at 15, so we've done trespassing.
No, we ain't got to 15 yet.
We're not at 15 yet.
No.
So we've done trespassing, we've done breaking and entering, criminal damage, and now we're on to arson.
Well, now you're painting a bad picture of me there, but this is all peer thing, like. But Gary, there's always a lad in where you live that everybody's freaking to death. Well, we got 2.
Always a bit more out there. Pushed it a bit further.
Mate, we'd got 2. We'd got Gary and we'd got Jed Law.
Did he used to kill animals?
I think so.
Yeah, probably.
He had a gun.
Yeah.
It'd be one of them you'd see down fields with a gun, and it'd be like you just had to run because Jed had a gun and all. And but
so
Jed,
I take it it's a pellet gun.
Jed was one of them kids who were as tall as a bloke when he was like sort of 12 or something.
Yeah.
Looked like a proper bloke.
Like
he was massive.
Freak genetics.
Oh, yeah. And it looked like that to me.
Hills of eyes, or
he'd got blonde hair, big square eared.
All right.
And just muscly.
Must have been a Viking then, eh?
But it was just one of them kids you'd cross the road to avoid.
Yeah.
And Gary Richards what's same.
Did you have a look in his eye as well when he were talking to you?
Oh mate, this was Gary for you. When we had his den at bottom of Jeff Street, I just remember one Saturday morning I was going. I think I'd gone out early, and Jeff was probably coming out in half an hour and did his breakfast or something to others. So I'm like hanging about down at bottom.
Just waiting because you didn't have phone, so you had to knock about, didn't you, for a while.
So then I seen these 3 kids walking on the street. So there were Spaz, Gary Richards, and
Spaz
and Brookie. That's sight. That's down the side. Related to Paul Sykes.
Boxer.
And he's a lovely kid. I get on with Daz, brilliant. Like, and obviously as you get older, you get to know everybody. But at that time, them 3 were together, and I was just like, oh no, Gaz Richards is there. You know what I mean? It was just baddest bully.
And the clocked you.
Oh, well, they come walking over, and it were like, and Gaz is like, what they're doing here? This is our den.
Yeah,
all that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
what is it, Nelson off
I think
Simpsons?
I think I said something like, it's ours or something. And he come up to me and he just goffed straight in my face, like proper greening, right in my face. Yeah. Like me, like felt like roaring.
You've got to
voice
save
box.
face, yeah.
Anyway, and he's like, threatening me and saying this, that, and other. And anyway, I ended up going home, and I don't think I said out to my mum, but I didn't want to go out then. So he was one of them kids that you just avoided. So fast forward, I think it was about, how many months later it was? It was about 6 months later, and I think I've told this story when I was in other week. So fast forward, it was Sunday morning. Me and David and Leo, we went down fields. So we're going down fields Sunday morning, but no on telly, boringest Sunday mornings ever. The only thing that we're on,
you were at church then.
On the move. Telly didn't come on while 12.
No.
On Sundays. So I want to be 11. Anyway, no on, so let's go out. So I says, shall we go down to Brooks Cash and Carry? Because when we were walking on Canal, you can see Quality Street tins. I don't know why they had Quality Street tins there. Empty ones.
Well, it's an wholesaler.
Yeah. So we goes up onto Old Mill Lane, you know where Bridge is? So just down from Asda. Well, that used to be water, gas board.
Yeah.
And something to do with water. And it were all fenced off before the road come down. So that were like a one big plot. But you could get in over, if you look on wall now, there's like windows and stuff, and all that were like depleted and kicked in. But you could get through there. And then you were into like grounds. So we just used to wander around. And there's a massive black pipe that runs from banking to banking. It goes across the River Dern.
Yeah.
So I says to Ollie, says, "Come on, we'll shin across that, and we'll get on to." And then you were into we had gasometer, and then you could get into Brooks Gas and Carry was. Yeah. And all I wanted to get lids to
frisbee.
Yes, to use lids as a frisbee.
Yeah.
So I goes first, and bear in mind, David and Lee are like, Lee were like, I think 3 years younger than me, and David were like 2 years younger than me. So like kids shinning across this thing, I just thought we'll get across. Never thought of their safety. So I gets across, and then Lee we all gets across, we all gets a lid apiece, and we're throwing them up in air and all that. Next thing, oi, what they doing? Looked across, oh no. It's like Gary Richards, Brookie, Spaz. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. My heart just sunk. And he's like, what are they doing? And he says, they're ours, them. They're our Quality Street.
Did he just used to claim everything they'd seen? Just walking down.
He'd have made a good gold prospector. So he gets onto pipe then and starts shinning across.
Yeah.
And then I think Spaz got on, and then Brookie. And they're pulling this ends on pipe. I couldn't there was nowhere to go. There's like River Dern's flowing through, or there's Cash and Carry, great big fence. You couldn't get out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no. And he's getting closer and closer and closer. So I'm stood like on banking, and bear in mind, two Ollies like they're just like bands, even younger than me.
Yeah.
They couldn't do out against them three. Gary gets over thing first. Spaz is still halfway across. Comes up to me and he's like, he grabbed hold of me with collar there. So he grabs hold of me with collar. Right, he's saying that as then as he grabs me. So as soon as he grabs me, I just smashed him in the face, pulled him down onto the floor, and then just like
went for him.
Some proper anger going at it.
Yeah.
Thing.
So this is going back to spitting in face.
Yeah.
I take
so
it.
I just smashed it. Not just that. I mean, he would every time you saw him. He would
So it's a lifetime of digs.
Mate. So I just smashed him to bits, like, and I'm looking, and Spaz were getting closer to the thing and closer. What did you do? I got a lumberjack coat on. Can you remember them lumberjack coats?
Oh, yeah.
It's like wool.
Wool all
like
the way around and a lining. Yeah.
So I'm like, and I thought, on the way out, in river. So I dove in river.
So what would drop? Let's talk about drop. We must be talking 10 feet at least.
About 10 foot.
Yeah, generally a few rocks and stuff.
Yeah, well, luckily I looked, and it looked fairly deep.
Yeah.
So I kind of.
It's quite deep. It's quite fast.
Yeah. So I got in, and I just remember it just being freezing cold.
What time of year?
It was summer.
Yeah.
So it weren't, you know what I mean? It weren't mega cold, and I just started swimming and doggy paddling and that to get across. And then I got to the other side, and I was just like, I looked back, and then he's like picking his Spazzers picking him up off at floor. And I remember hearing Dave and Lee saying, "No, what to do with us? No, what to do with us."
Poor lads. I bet they copped for it, did they?
No,
after?
they didn't.
You
No.
found out.
He left him alone. And then I just ran upfield and ran home, went through going into the house. I think I got in before mum and dad saw me, and then I went up to my bedroom.
Weren't Cleadus River either, were it? But
no, not back then. But yeah, that only way I could get out.
Yeah.
Jump in the river. So, I mean, it was resourceful thinking about it.
Life number 6.
But then after that, like I said, it's weird. It were all right with me after that.
Well, generally, being
and then,
dogs a bit more obedient.
And then I got to know Spaz and got to know Brookie. And I can remember. I'm trying to think how long ago it was after that. But I were down lines again because it was the old railway line.
Yeah, they used
so
to
I'm
be
down
right.
lines again, and I think it was. I think that's how I knew to get across. It might have been before that. There was me, a kid called Bunner, and a kid called Chris Swift. And we were walking down lines, and they knew to get across there, to get into gasometer. They knew how to get onto where gasometer was, and I just followed them. So we ended up going into grounds at gasometer, and there's did you ever see it ladders on side?
Yes,
did you
I
ever
did.
see it? So they pulled ladder down. They got onto the thing.
So how big would you say this gasometer was? It was quite.
I don't know because it were different sizes all the time.
Well, it did. It used to change. So anybody who's not sure what a gasometer is, it's a big round structure
metal
that used to fill up with gas, and then depending on how full it would depending on the height of it. They seem to have disappeared, don't they?
And it's got all
20 years.
It's got all grease on sides.
It's got levels, so it'll basically fold into itself, won't it? And then
so they said, "Oh, we're going to go up gasometer."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "All right." So I just followed them. So they pulled ladders down, got up gasometer, onto the top of gasometer, walking around. And on top, they've got these fire extinguishers for some reason.
it's not going to help you if a match
So
gets.
they threw these two fire extinguishers off, which were like decent size.
Of course you would, yeah.
And then we ended up having a fight with him.
Yeah, of course you would, yeah.
White powder.
White powder, yeah. It's
So,
probably
I
not
mean,
best. Probably not good for
Probably
you.
full of asbestos.
Yeah, really.
And we kind of went, and I just thought, I never thought that you couldn't go in there because it were open and you could get in.
Yeah.
I just assumed you could go in and you could. This is how naive I was. I just assumed you could go in and go up and do that.
Just like a day out. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then. I mean, I'm not painting a good picture of me saying, but I think you've got to build
Well, it's
up.
life and crimes of Sam Cooper so far.
So I started going to boys' club then. We knocked him out with a kid who were older and a steady. So there were Jeff had introduced us to Steady, who were he was 2 years older than Jeff. So Steady were nearly 18. Well, when I first met him, he'd have been about 16. But then this day, particular day, we'd been at boys' club. So I'd have been 13. So we'd been at boys' club. I used to catch last bus home. Bit older now, so they'd all my hair shaved off now. I weren't a kid anymore. And I dropped on, there was Steady. Jeff weren't there, so there was Steady, Daz Greenoff. What was the one? The one more kid. I can't think who it was. Mark Riles, kid called Mark Riles, whose dad were a manager at, I think he managed Cannon and Ball or something. He used to manage Axe. He got a load of money. And none of us were criminals or out, but I'm on bus with them. They were all older than me. And Steady says, "Come on," he says, that house is, we at bus stop, so we used to get off at bus stop on Burton Road. Steady says, "Oh, that house is open. We're going to go and sit in the house. There's an house that were empty. It'd been empty for years. And he says, doors open right back. We were going to sit in there. So me, not wanting to go home, wanted to like just stop out a bit longer.
Oh, yeah.
I followed him and went and sat in this house. Like, so they'd got like torches and stuff. And we were just
Matches.
talking. No, I don't think they've been told, but just talking in this thing. And then instead he says, I says, I'm going to have to go home now. Like, anyway, instead he says, I think it was 6-week holiday. He says, we're going to come back in tomorrow. Just hang out, like.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. Me just thinking we can hang out in this house because it's empty and nobody owns it.
Yeah.
Naively. Gets up next day, meets them at 10 o'clock. Goes up to this house, goes into this house. They went to stick a furniture in, but there were carpets in. There were no furniture in. It was just empty.
And there were a door.
Patio door were
And
open.
it was just unlocked.
No, it had not been forced out, so it had just been.
So it was just
open.
unlocked, yeah.
Yeah, or I thought it was unlocked. But what? Back then, you could open a patio door just by if you just pushed up on it. It was just like an hook.
Right.
So I think they were just so simple to open. You could just lift it up and unhook it. So we'd gone up into roof space.
Right.
So we went to stick a furniture in it, no tin at all, no tin drawers, no, just carpets on floor. It was an empty house. So we just like sat in there chilling out. And then one of them had like shoved the attic thing.
Yeah.
So we got up into roof space, and there was some stuff stored up in top, and there were these pictures. So we're looking at through these pictures, just being nosy.
What, like family pictures?
Now they were like from what weirdest thing? They were army pictures, and they were like
What, like cyanotypes?
black and white army black and white pictures of army and like beheadings and stuff.
Beheadings?
Yeah, they were just weird.
What, in army?
Well, there were people with army suits on. It looked like Saudi. It looked like Saudi Arabia.
Right, okay.
So imagine suits like, I don't know, like because you could see they got army
Islamic
suits
dress?
on. No, suits like proper.
So it were fatigues?
Like a captain's suits, but they'd got like them
Like a Schmitter?
stingy swords, yeah.
Curved sword.
And beheading people, like, like as if they've done something wrong.
Seems a bit of a...
Well, I was just interested anyway. So and I'd picked this. They were like like an old camera film.
Yeah.
So I'd had this old camera film, and I was holding it. I was like trying to see what were on it. Then we heard these voices downstairs.
Yeah.
So I've put it in my pocket. I've like gone like that and put it in my pocket. I remember I got a denim coat on, so I put this in my pocket. And it was coppers. So next to a neighbour must have said, "Oh, there's some kids that have broken that house."
Yeah.
So coppers come. They got us down out at thing, and then took us straight to the police station.
Right.
Oh no! First time I've ever been in a police station in my life. That jaw going, lip were going. I'm thinking, oh, what's mum and dad going to say? They ended up coming through, but they searched us when we got in.
Yeah.
So they searched us, and he picked this film out. He says, "What's this?" I says, "Oh, it's a film." I says, "It were in attic." I says, "And I must have put it in my pocket." All right. Put that in. Anyway, they questioned us. My dad had to come up.
Yeah.
He was worse than me. He were in bits. He were like,
What? He were disappointed?
No, he's never been had any contact with police or
Really?
like that. He's never been, no.
So your dad were a straight arrow, were he?
Oh, yeah. So I was more upset because he were upset, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, ended up going home, got shouted at and that, and meant to stop in and all that.
Did your mum...
But then over a few...
Who were disciplined in your house? Who were you scared of most?
None of them really. But
Angry mum brushing your hair, or dad coming at you with slipper?
What they used to do is because they used to argue all the time. So it were like our house would they just argued all the time and proper fighted, like proper fighting with each other.
Yeah.
Like I've seen my mum and dad go to it, like bicycle kicking and absolutely going things. So he used to go out 7 days a week. Then he knocked it down to 5.
What, you mean to pub?
Yeah,
that's how it were.
Yeah, because he worked in pit, mate. And
it were.
So anyway, so I've got this kind of court date then, haven't I?
So you didn't just get a slap on wrist.
No,
It was
because
a proper...
because of this, what they call it, that film, the charges with burglary.
And were that all three?
All yeah, all,
So you got everybody
all
else...
we'd have got
I
done
bet
for,
you were popular.
We'd have got done for breaking and entering, even though, like I said, I'd not none as a broken entering. I don't know. They'd said door were up, and I'd just believed them. But because I've got this film, it were like, right, you're getting done for burglary, and I'm like, at the time it didn't bother me. I was like, you know what I mean? All right, well that's that then. And when we went to court,
So there were an actual court date and...
we had to go to court. 12-month conditional discharge.
And how old were you?
At 13, I was just going on to 14.
13.
Yeah. So I ended up with a 12-month conditional discharge, and I'm like, all right. And they were gutted because they're like, right, you know, going forward the rest of your life, that's it. You're not going to get out of a job and all this.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, oh, shit.
It didn't stay with... It didn't stay on a permanent record, did it?
It's still on now.
It did?
Yeah, it's still on.
So you got charged as an adult at 13?
Yeah. First
First
time I've ever been in contact with him, and that just because of this thing.
And were homeowner asked whether they wanted to press charges, or were it just police that decided, or did you ever even know?
I didn't know. It turned out it was somebody's house, and they were using it for storage. And
Yeah.
at it like so. This is what we got told, but I think it was also because Steady were 18. I think they wanted to do him
Really?
more than out. So yeah, so that were a tick on my record. So we're like, oh
Harsh
no.
times.
But I've missed out school, innit?
I was going to say, what did school say about this anyway? Usually,
no,
usually if you got into trouble outside, you got, you know, if school got wind of it, you got punished again, didn't you?
They didn't find out.
I can remember. I've got a mate. He once he got run over. He ran out into the middle of the road, and a van knocked him down.
Really?
Yeah, I think he went through a brick wall. Kids were always getting run over in the 70s.
I know.
Just no road sense. Anyway, he got knocked over, and then he were in a bad way. I think he broke his leg, and he were in hospital for 2 months. Anyway, he turned up back to school day one, thinking he was going to be all conquering hero, because obviously school had got wind of it. They'd sent him letters, you know, hope you're doing well, Craig. He says first thing that happened when he came in, Craig, headmaster's office. He got sent straight to headmaster's office. I think he was put in sort of isolation for 2 months
for getting run over.
For getting run over, yeah, for not showing any common sense. He got a proper carpeting from headmaster, and then he had to spend 2 months in isolation. So that was his reward.
Great laugh.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is So
which school we're talking about, Sam?
I started off at St Joseph's, which were on Doncaster Road, and it was a Catholic school. So, like, I'm a Catholic, and started off at nursery, and we used to walk to school down Cemetery Road. Walk to school. When I got to a certain age, just to walk on
your own,
on his own, and walk and come home on his own.
I think I was 7 when I started walking home from school.
Yeah, probably around about same age, and at school, I did all right. I'm quite brainy at school, but obviously class clown all the time. Didn't try, but I one of the things I can remember is getting picked for. I'll tell you this story first. I think I might have told you. Is it told that with priest? Did I tell you that one?
No.
So we've got this. So we're Catholic school, and this was in, I think, in its second years. So I'd have been. How old would I have been in its second years? I think I'd have been about 7.
Yeah.
6 or 7, and they'd got this priest that had come on like a. He came to stay with Father. What is his name now? Come to stay with Vicar, who lived in house outside. And we were having this assembly, and it was a Friday, and they had this special assembly. I don't know whether it was like phone it, Saints' Days or something. But I can just remember they got us walking round all, and they wanted us to sing this song. I can't even remember what song it was. It was some kind of hymn. And they'd said, I didn't know words to this hymn. So Mrs. Clark, teacher who were in last class that you would go before seniors.
Yeah.
This Mrs. Clark had said to me, if you don't know words, just whistle.
Okay.
Right. So
well, yeah, I seem to remember. If you didn't know words,
so
you just
she's on piano. So she got somebody on piano, Mrs. Hawley, I think it was. She's on piano playing this whatever. It might have even been Harvest Festival or so. I didn't know words. So she says, if you don't know words like that, I said, excuse me, Miss, I don't know words. And she says, if you don't know words, just whistle. So I set off walking. I'm like. And this priest was, it had been about 22.
Yeah.
I can remember him now. Dark hair, about 22, decent build, like tallish, slim. And as I'm walking around whistling, as I got to him, he got his hand and he just smashed me straight out face, as hard as he could. Just smashed me straight out face.
Really?
Yeah, knocked me on the floor. And then he says, what are you whistling for? Stop whistling. Like, screaming in his ear, proper screaming at me. Like, anyway, like lip had gone, like me, tears, like in eyes. Carried on walking around. But from there, I think it was when we'd moved up Mount Breton, so we used to have to catch Pogmore bus.
Yeah.
So I had to get on bus me, like get thing in my throat and think... Like
so
lumping me
smacked
throat.
just for whistling.
But
you
not
just annoyed him that
just,
much.
Not just smacked, but I'm walking as I'm coming towards him, oblivious.
Yeah.
Just whistling.
So he's no doubt wound it up. He's probably been walking forward thinking, I'm going to absolutely rattle.
It was a beauty, mate. And it's like, I can remember like ringing in my ear and everything.
Yeah.
Just caught me with beauty.
And he were allowed to.
Yeah, and I'd not done out wrong.
You'd not set his house on fire or stolen his film.
No, but other than that, I enjoyed it at school. I enjoyed dinners, everything. It were all right. And I got picked for school plays, so I used to be in school plays regular. Do scarce parts for everything.
What were your debut?
I was it was a magician in the old London town or the old streets of London or something, and I can remember words they had to say. So I think Keely Harrington had to lay down, and she held two like sticks, and they put a cape over her.
Yeah.
And she like I had to pretend to hypnotise her and make her lift up. And she used to lift things up so it looked like she was levitating.
Careful.
It was good.
Yeah, careful. What is it? Magician's circle will be on to you.
Oh, yeah. Tell him.
You don't want to be doing that. Do you know what my first part were at school?
Go on.
I got our prestige.
Go on.
So it were nativity, one at Three Kings. You know that's second tier. Yeah, I think in my acting career, I think I managed. Three King and a shepherd. I were never a sheep or a star.
That's not bad.
But saying that,
good start anyway.
Yeah, well, I were like Nazi poster child, weren't I? I don't know if you've seen me as a kid. Blonde hair, blue eyes, angelic, and then something went wrong.
So
these hard knock towns, they knock it out of you, don't they?
Yeah. So that was my first debut. That and I'd got words and that. I don't remember them then, but. And then second one was Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz.
And I played the Wizard Oz.
Did you?
Yeah.
You were Oz.
And my words were, who are you and what do you do? I had to say that to each of them.
Yeah.
So who are you and what do you do? And that went down good. And then year after, my star part was... they asked me to play Pharaoh in Joseph.
Oh, yeah.
So
I had the part in that as well.
Did you?
Yeah. Do you want to know why I were? No, it weren't Joseph. It weren't Joseph. It were Easter. It were Easter one, and I had Pontius Pilate. So
right.
you say I had authority as a kid. I washed my hands of Jesus.
So I knew song.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. That's with Jesus Christ Superstar, weren't it? That's when.
Yeah.
we did.
So song. I knew, like, you know, I was wandering along the banks of the river.
Yeah.
7 fat cows came out. I still know it now. So I rehearsed race. Anyway, went down a storm. Did really well.
Oscar nomination or.
I think I could have got one.
Yeah, BAFTA.
It's just
It'd
it's
been
a,
BAFTA,
it's a
wouldn't it?
shame that nobody took pictures back then. I'm sure there's some pictures of me back then. But then I went from St Joseph's to St Dominic's for last year of school, because our Alison had moved up to senior school. Mum didn't want me travelling on bus on my own, I don't think. And at St Dominic's, they had a school play, and it was Joseph again. So everybody was wanting me to do, because they knew I'd played Pharaoh.
Because she'd absolutely smashed it. Rave reviews in Barnsley Chronicle.
But they wanted me to play Joseph. And I was like, I don't want to, no, I can't sing.
Can't do it again. Too much pressure.
No, but Joseph, I'd played Pharaoh before.
Oh, right,
I'd have
okay.
probably done it, but Mr. Feely asked me to play Joseph. And I reluctantly agreed. And
Reluctantly agreed. How old were you?
But I think...
Did you have to negotiate?
I'd have been 10.
Oh, Mr. Feely, I'll do it, but, you know...
But...
here's me rider.
I think with everything that was going off and that, I was just stressed and that. Obviously, with stuff that going off at home and everything, I'd have just been stressed.
Too much pressure. You sounds like...
And I can remember one day being on stairwell, and I think it was... I don't know whether it was Tracy Hill? It was either Tracy Hill or...
You didn't have a sherbet dib dab addiction either, did you? At
No,
time?
I
Too
think
much.
something was said on stairs, and I think I shoved her. I shoved her on stairs, and
You were having a proper Bieber meltdown at school. 11.
and I got sent to Mr. Feely, and he banned me from being at school play straight away. That was it. Strike, no 3 strikes. I was out, which I weren't really bothered about. But now I look back at these. That school were responsible, and they took photos at cast. So I think Brent ended up. Brent was got Premier ended up playing. I think he played Pharaoh. Or I think he played him, and Thingy Murphy played Joseph. But it worked out better because he was a singer. He was having singing lessons.
Yeah,
and he sung it brilliant, you know what I mean? So that worked out well for him. But then when I went up to senior school, in second years, they put Joseph on
again, third time. There's one copy of Joseph getting circulated through Barnsley, I think.
So Mr. Danforth,
what are we doing this year? What did we do last year? Joseph. Oh, what shall we do this year? Joseph.
No, this what's senior school, so it's up a notch. This is like being in Fame. So everybody had been all these whispers about how good I'd been when I did.
Still, this reputation 2 years earlier. Sam Cooper
from St Joseph's. All lasses were saying, "You want to be asking Sam? Ask Sam." Anyway, I didn't want to do it. I was like, I'm not bothered. I don't want to do it.
Too much pressure. Last time I pushed.
I think I read that first years or second year.
Had you been to Priory by now? Or
So anyway, he came up to me in geography lesson.
Who's this?
Teacher, and he says,
"Which one's this?"
Mr. Danforth, and he says, "Look, Simon," he says, "I know you've said you don't want to do it." He says, "But," he says, "if you do this for me," he says, "while ever we're in school play, you don't have to do any homework."
Really?
Yeah. So that what kind of deal
Green
breaker.
light.
And then he says,
"Did you have an agent?"
No, but then he says to me, I says, "Well, I'm not bothered about singing." I said, "I'll not be able to remember words." And he says, "Well, what I'll do?"
Could you whistle them?
No, he says, he says, "I'm going to sing it. All you have to do is mime it."
Really?
Yeah. So
what were you, a baritone?
So it just reminded me. What first years? So in first years, I'd got my hair. It were like it was down to about here.
So for people that are listening, Sam, as a youngster, you might have seen his picture on our podcast cover. He's completely bald now, but as a youngster, would you say curly
Yeah,
hair, wavy
wavy.
curly hair,
Brown hair.
down to his probably down to your
Yeah.
chin? Would you say, or just
like,
below your ears?
Yeah, just down here. So it was quite long.
You could probably say quite feminine looking.
But Two Tone had just come out.
Okay.
So Two Tone, skinheads and stuff, and everybody went into specials and all this, and it was 1977, 78. And
so we've got punk era and we've got skinheads era.
So one lad, the one lad at our school had just had his hair cut right short. He was a couple of years older than me, and my mum had, and obviously, thinking were coming up. We'd been doing rehearsals and stuff, and it was a week before dress rehearsal for school play. Might even been the day before.
Yeah.
So I just not thinking. I just never thought about playing Pharaoh. And my mum would give me money to go and get my hair cut. And I went to Wilkinson's, just up front bus station, Paul's.
Paul Wilkinson's.
And I went in and got in a chair, and kid says to me, "What do you want?" I says, "Skinhead."
Look brave.
But most of them had been having number 2,
Yeah.
which is what, like, proper two-tone skinheads had.
Yeah.
He just straight down to, it was number 1,
Yeah.
straight down. And when he shaved it all off, I'm looking.
You're traumatised.
I liked it in a way, but I went straight and had my photo took because I thought I might not have it done like this again. I might let it grow.
Where'd you have your photo taken?
There used to be a photo booth. You know, we
So traditional 4 pictures.
Yeah, but you know we can you remember old entrance for train station before they changed it? I don't know if you can remember it.
Some going back that for me.
Well, there used to be old entrance, there was a taxi place next to it, but as you went down there, just as you come up top of Old Mill Lane, there used to be a phone box, and then there was this photo booth for some reason.
Bizarre.
So I had my photo, took 4 photos, and from me with tools up and that. I don't know why.
Oh, you were rebelling.
Mum going like that with my fist.
Yeah.
And I went home, my mother went by me, she's going, "What have you done?" Like, didn't ever see me as short as that. And you know what, first person in St. Mick's to have it that short. So
Yeah.
and I got to school and everybody were like, "Oh my God." And then
Thing is, at time it had got a bad rap anyway, hadn't it? It were like seen as a bit of rebellion. There were skinheads, which were a music, and it were a scene, and there were two-tone scene, but there were also
everybody's like
there were also
national,
there were national front connotations as well with it, weren't they? Which is
everybody's staring at me as if I'm like a
hooligan.
Yeah, well, I doesn't know, just because I had long hair before. It was probably grey at top of it just probably didn't look right. But anyway, so I'd never thought we were 2 days away from rehearsal, so went in and saw Mr. Danforth. He's like, "Oh no, he's supposed to be like," because the sung it were like an Elvis, so he wanted me to be like Elvis. So basically, I got hair, and he was just going to put me some sideburns on. So I get dressed in Elvis suit for rehearsal, and then they stuck me these sideburns on.
But there's no wig.
No wig, because you can remember Monkey. Can you remember that program, Monkey?
Yes, I can remember Monkey.
They've
just redone it, I think, on Netflix.
So anyway, this what
Monkey did have hair though, didn't he?
No, he had it right short, didn't he?
I thought he had a bit of spiky hair on top.
But I look like that.
He had big pork chops aside.
So this what dress rehearsal anyways in front of school. So all players going on. I'm getting nervous. Curtains go up and everybody absolutely in bits laughing. You know what I mean?
Really?
It went down.
Oh, that's a great start.
It had been like a bit vanilla play.
Yeah.
And then R comes on and doing this thing, and at end I had to run and drop on my knees and slide on.
So it didn't bother you that they started?
No.
You got what you wanted.
And of course I'm miming, so Mr. Danforth's voice is like
a different voice,
deep as alt and all.
Yeah.
And it looked brilliant. And I think a lot of them thought because I were miming.
Yeah.
I ended up putting wrong hand up without mic on. in between Bopsha Waddy Waddies. I'm wandering along banks of the river, 7 fat cows come out of the Nile. Oh, and I put my thing down, and then I put other hand up without mic on, just out of nerves. And I think
comedy timing.
And I think they thought it was part of act, but it was by mistake. And then and then that went down brilliant. I had to do an encore at end.
You had to do an encore?
Yeah.
What, just you?
Singing that's just my song.
All
yeah.
right, okay.
So when we did matinee and evening performance, like for parents and everybody,
yeah,
mine what one that I had to do encore on.
All
like,
right. Well, the bad's a clerical write-up on this.
No, but there's no photos. I've not seen one photo. I didn't have a camera. My mum didn't fetch a camera. There was one person that had a camera on night, and I know, and that was Mrs. Clark, who was my junior school teacher. I remember seeing her with camera, but she's passed away years ago.
Yeah.
So that went down brilliant. Yeah. So that was my first thing into fame school. But after that, I didn't really
pursue it. I mean, we get offers weekly. We turn them down. Too much pressure.
Do you know what? They never did a school play after that for some reason. They didn't do one school play after that.
I seem to remember. So I was born in '80s, and it was just when I went to school. It was just after miners' strike. So depression around here had really kicked in. There were nothing. All these things you're talking about, like boys' schools, football. Like our school, when I went, just before I started, they did everything. They used to have an ice rink come at Christmas and all sorts of stuff. When I started, everything just got completely stopped. It was rubbish. No school. Well, there were school plays, obviously, or in a couple of them, but like even sports teams, they just completely.
It's weird because
I didn't play sport for my school until fourth year, and it had been 4 years since they'd had a team, but everything just stopped. It was ridiculous.
It's weird that because I feel lucky, even though obviously, even though I'm in and out of trouble and that, but I were lucky that we had boys club, but our school had a youth club as well.
Yeah, none of that.
First and second year at Holyrood.
Yeah,
and obviously because we didn't know any different, it was like you just thought, oh well, that's what they call it. You've got a youth club, so there weren't just one youth club. There were youth club for our school, which were Holyrood. I used to go to Eldon Youth Club. They used to have a disco on a certain night.
Yeah.
We used to go to Ace Ballroom at Royston. They used to have a disco then on a certain night. We used to go to Portcullis. They used to have a disco there on a certain night.
Yeah.
And then obviously Boys Club were open 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Boys Club were just fantastic. They used to have this before videos and everything. Before videos come out, they had. I mean, thinking back, telly probably weren't as big as what we've got, but they had it was like a massive video recorder that you could project onto a screen, and it used to lift up. And they had a cinema room that was sloped down, so they'd got you could get everybody in, and they used to play 18 films on a Thursday night, and they used to let you go in. You know what I mean? But it used to be packed. You used to pay 50 pence, but it were even.
Yeah.
If it got too full, don't let you in.
Yeah.
And I saw Exorcist there. First time I saw Exorcist. I mean, it sounds tame now, but I think I saw that when I was 11.
I think people were passing out. I think when Exorcist came out originally.
Jaws.
They were a big
Phantasm
furore about it.
Spit on Your Grave. All them. Because they used to get them and put them in.
Horror classics.
And they had a five-a-side, all up top, that you could just get ball from behind bar.
Yeah.
And just go up and play that. Table tennis, keggy. That's why I was really good at table football. Pool. So I started getting decent at pool when I liked that. They used to take us. We used to abseil. Everybody I know my age is all abseiled out of that window, out of upstairs window on side. If you go upside and you see there's a window,
I think
they used to practice abseiling out of there.
I think they used to do it at local college, didn't they, once a year as well, from top of there.
Ah, they did. I wouldn't have never done that. It were high enough there.
That's about 6 stories, I think.
But they took us to like boys' club. They took us to we went to Wales. I climbed Snowdon.
Yeah.
I went round that like edge on top. You know, there's like up Snowdon. There's like a
Yes, I
ledge.
forget its name. I know what
Took
you
us
mean.
up there. I'm walking around there with a pair of Sam
Oh,
Smiths.
Plimsolls on or something. Yeah, yeah.
It's like I didn't know we were going, and so they took us all round top there. I went up Scarfell, and we were due to go up Ben Nevis, but it got cancelled because of weather. But we'd like go to Wales for a week. They had a bus, so they'd take us all there on a bus. Best holiday though, when I was 15. Summer holidays when I was 15, when I was going to go up to other school. We'd paid to go to south of France on that bus. Drove to south of France 2 weeks, 14 days. Just a bus full of lads,
Kids.
15 and 16 year old.
14 days.
Yeah, camping in south of France.
And how many adults?
3, I think. I think there were 3. John's wife, and they weren't much older than us. John had been like 20, probably 22, 23.
Yeah.
And no, 25. But his bird, which I can't remember her name. She was like she'd have been like 20, only like 4-year-old girls.
Yeah.
But it was just brilliant. We just had a great laugh. But like you said, there's no for young ones now. Is there? You know what I mean?
Nothing. No.
But they're going to build that thing in Barnsley.
They are. There's something that they're going to invest quite a lot.
And that sounds like a bit like Boys Club and what we used to do.
Yeah.
But So, but like I said, at St Joseph's, one of the things that happened there, I'd have been in third years. So, what's third year? So
you'd been about 14, 13,
no,
14, wouldn't you?
No, at junior school.
All right. Okay. So you'd have been about. So you're 11 now.
Last year's 10. Last year's 10, 11. I'd have been. I think I was 9.
Yeah, 7, between 7 and 9.
I think I was 9. So me and Mark Harrison's in playground. Old Harry, Dirty Harry. He was a character, mate. He might come up a few times. And I don't know what happened. We were mates, and I don't know what happened. He was a lot taller than me. I don't know what happened. We ended up arguing in. Like, you know, doors at school, you had double doors at one side, in old Victorian school. And I think we'd just been to tuck shop. And we ended up arguing over something, shoving and that. And then we ended up like wrestling.
Yeah.
No, like, we hadn't thrown any punches at each other, but we ended up wrestling. And it was, anyway, headmaster, Mr. Corrigan, just comes running straight over. He grabbed us both. I'm fed up of you two. Right, and it's like proper giving us a lecture, like dragged us straight into his office, just pulled draw out, put your hands out.
Really?
Just give us both stick. And then like, I've not had to give this stick for, I think he said 5 years. 5 years since anybody did stick. I didn't even know that you could have a stick.
Yeah.
I didn't know nothing about stick.
Yeah.
I know you could get like, I had trainer. You know,
really?
It with trainer. But I didn't know you could have a stick.
I think there were a period of time where it was a bit of a grey area. You weren't supposed to do it, but some still did it.
But 9. I was 9. And anyway, so one on each hands. I got one on each hand.
So it was a birch in a case.
He got it in the bottom drawer. So I heard him pull.
Did it come out with was it in a case?
No, it was just a cane.
Right,
like a thick cane. And he just, it like bang, bang on both hands. I was like, and Harry got it, and Harry was like supposed to be like cock at squirrel.
So
but I'm like looking at him.
Toughest guy in school.
Yeah, so I'm looking at him, and he's like, he started roaring.
Yeah.
Of course, I'd got lump in my throat, and I thought I'm not going to roar before Harry.
You're not going to let him give him satisfaction.
I'm watching him. Anyway, Harry just was blubbing. He just ruined his eyes out. Tears were just down his face. And I thought, I'm not going to roar. I'm not roaring in front of headmaster. Anyway, he says, hey, get back to your classrooms. Well, Harry lived at Kendry. So Harry just went straight out the door, just ran home. And I lived at Montbreton, so I'd got to get bus. So I went down into toilets, like sat sobbing in toilets, like all tears in my eyes. But then I'd got to go back in class. So I'd still got lump in my throat.
Yeah.
And it was more embarrassment to out because I'm thinking they're all going to know I've had to stick. And I felt right embarrassed for having steak. It felt like I was like a criminal.
Yeah.
So I've gone. So anyway, went back to anyway.
I'm convinced.
Gets on bus and I just felt awful.
I'm convinced that, bearing in mind that this, when a priest slapped you, and headmaster's just gone from 0 to 11 in 1 second. I think that's how they used to get a bit of mental health respite, didn't they? They just used to, just take it out on some kids.
But that is, I mean, them what days, and they could do that.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a story anyway about.
Go on.
So we always seem to come back to Barnsley's famous film Kes. There's a caning scene on Kes.
Yeah, these are.
I'm not sure why they had to put it in or why they actually had to do it, but I think there's five.
Because it was commonplace.
Yeah,
because it was commonplace.
I know, but they
that's
filmed
what
it.
happened.
They filmed it. They could probably have cut away. They could have done swish.
If you read Barry Hines' autobiography,
yeah,
he said he wanted natural reaction. For
well,
when
they definitely got it.
They told him, if you read it, they told him they weren't going to hit him.
Is that what they said?
Yeah, they told him all this.
Well, do you know what happened afterwards?
No.
They all got paid.
Oh yeah, they got paid extra.
They got paid. I think it was £5 an hand or something like that.
Well, I had my photo took with him on end. Drop a little cigarette factory. No.
Oh.
Drop a little cigarette factory, aren't we?
Yeah.
I were at about just before Christmas. Me and where are we now? He were talking to somebody, and I'm like, "Come here, let me get a picture." Anyway, he come over and we had his picture together.
So they actually caned. So they actually caned him. They actually caned him on screen.
Oh, yeah,
that would have filmed.
But they'd said that they weren't going to do it.
Yeah,
wonderful. They wanted reaction and being shot.
And they definitely got it.
And obviously he's roaring him because he didn't think he was going to get it.
And he was last one.
And it hurt.
Yeah.
And it does, but it's like
so
Gav, the more you get it,
yeah, less effect. You get desensitized, don't you? That lad that I was talking about that got run over, his dad were on there, and I can't remember which bit he's on. And I never met his dad. His dad were always working away. But I think money that he got from it, I think he ended up buying a Vespa. So he was basically a rock and roll star after that. Getting your own transport at 16 or whatever, getting a Vespa, proper Italian one as well. I think I think it started him, and his son, I think, carried on with his son's into Vespas and stuff like that as well.
I mean, I never got stick when I went to St Dominic's, but first day at St Mick's, first day stick, swinging on curtains in all.
Well, I went to when I were at high school. This was in the 90s. There were no caning going on anymore, but I went to Darton High School, and it were a school that teachers basically spent their whole career there. So some of them had been there since the 60s when it opened, and they were still there. And I think oldest one was Mr. Powell, and I used to work for a college, and I went in once, and he was still there. He was a teacher, and he'd spent his whole career there. But so there were all these old school teachers who had been through a period where you could, corporal punishment was still a thing, but they'd faded it out. But there was still some were still going off a little bit. The rough people up, they'd grab you by ear or whatever. And there were a fella, and I think it was Mr. Wilson, and it was when you still had blackboard and board rubber, and he was surgical with that board rubber. He could throw it from front of class to back, and he used to. It was rare that he threw board rubber. I saw him throw it once, and he caught somebody on the side of the head, and I thought if he'd have caught his teeth, he'd have been missing them. But he used to be able to throw chalk, and it anywhere it was like a laser beam. And if he caught anybody whispering outside, first they'd hear about it is chalk bouncing off top of their head. And this was in the 90s. I saw him throw up board rubber, and he nearly knocked lad went on floor. Yeah, nearly big wooden board rubber. It probably weighed about half a pound. Smacked him straight outside the head.
There were a rumour that
he skittled.
There were a rumour that at St Mick's, German teacher Mr. Burtby, school that he'd been at before, he'd killed a kid with
board rubber.
Throwing a board rubber.
I'm not surprised.
But I think that might have been like an urban myth.
Urban myth. They always were, weren't they?
But But like I said, first day at St. Mick's stick, and then it was I just used to get it all the time, mate. It was
You just got used to it.
they were kid.
So what did he say? He said he'd not done it for years, and then
He'd
must
not
have
done
just-
it for 5 years.
I bet he felt good about
the
it.
last
when
person
he
that
did
he'd done was Harry's brother.
it. Right, really?
It was Harry's brother.
It was probably that
Yeah.
I bet he thought, oh, he's scrapping. I remember his brother.
Ah.
I'll nip it in bud now. I bet he got a feel for it, Headmaster. I bet he did it, and he thought, I've missed that.
What you've got to take into consideration is this: school teachers are poorly paid and they're stressed up.
I think some of them were sadists.
That's it. But you've got to take into consideration if they come to school in a bad mood,
Yeah.
and kids are like,
Oh, yeah,
you're in a
yeah.
good mood or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, you don't. But you don't do that at school. You're in their trust, and you just think, you know, you go to school and you might be up and down and that, but then you drop on a teacher that's like absolutely, you know, stressed up or whatever, and they just snap. And
Any jobs like that.
Yeah, but I've like I said, first year at school at St. Mick's, all schools kind of mixed, don't they? And
Yeah, there's a bit of a...
yeah, so there's like, oh, it's best
There's a bit of
fated.
pecking order,
It's best
isn't there?
fated
You
from
have to
that school.
establish it,
It's
don't you?
best fated
Yeah,
from that
yeah.
school. It's best fated from that school. Well, I mean, I was never a fater, but it was like I used to knock about with them all who were
Yeah.
decent. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
could get on with anybody. I could talk to anybody. And I remember first week I was at school. I don't know why that in our class, because obviously you all get put in.
You get merged from different schools,
from different
yeah.
schools, or and they mix everybody up.
Yeah.
So we've got a lad in our class, Charlie, who's postman. Talk to him all the time now, Charlie, but I'm going to have to get him on here to talk about when we were at school, because we sat in class, and I can remember we our form room, science class, and we were at benches, and I can just remember him. Everybody were talking about who wants to fight with you and all this, and he come up and just offered me a heart.
Really?
And I'm like, he's saying, I want to have a fight with you at dinner.
You've got to arrange it.
Well, my heart, honestly, my stomach just dropped, and I just like.
The longest lesson of your life.
But I'd never had a proper fight.
Yeah.
But I'd seen them at our school. You know what I mean? I'd seen them when they had a fight, because at St. Dominic's we shared the same school fields as St. Mick's. So when they were in a fight, you could see them. You know, when they all get round,
Yeah.
a massive circle. So we'd see them like, "What's happening? Oh, there's a fight." And thought a bit centre of attention
Anxiety,
and middle of
yeah.
everybody.
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
mate, and so I come back down and I says, "Oh, all right then." But Charlie was like twice size of me, and he were big, like fat,
Yeah.
but big,
Yeah.
tall. Put it this way: his brother, who was 3 years older, his nickname was Sasquatch.
Yeah.
His brother was
That's
massive.
just what you want, don't you?
So I'm like, anyway, so all
PTSD coming back again.
So all Tim Barker and Nami and that kid came round me and they're saying, "Oh, you'll be right. And they're all telling you what to do then. What you need to do is this.
Yeah. Punch him in the nose and then his eyes will water.
So he's of the other side of the thing, like kept staring at me
coaching,
and that.
yeah,
And he had this like, I can remember it like it was yesterday. He had like an anorak thing on with like an hood, and it was like padded, but it was brown. It was like a thinny padded stuff. And he used to wear that all the time, which made him look even bigger. So
Did he cast a shadow when he walked forward, did he? Yeah.
So, I mean, it tempted to take ages to get to Brecon. I mean, like, bell went, and I'm like, it's heart sunk again. So, goes out onto the playground. Everybody knew then.
They knew, it got around, quicker than text messaging.
Everybody in school knew that there was going to be a fight. I think it was dinner time. So, I'd gone straight out onto the field. And all these like older lads come round.
There's no chances. There's no getting out of it, is there?
No. But Sean Mitchell was there, which made me feel a bit better. What Cocker Squirrel, and he'd been Cocker St. Joseph's.
So toughest one of St.
So
Joseph's.
he was there, and I felt a bit better. And then Becker was with his brother and all them, and they were all over that gang on playground. And then he just set off. I'm on grass, stood there, and he just set off running in he'd got a right run up. Like he's just sprinting and sprinting and sprinting, and he's getting closer and closer and closer. I was like frozen. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And then just as he got to me, a bit like like a bull, like a
Just matador. Yeah.
I then grabbed hold of his coit and like just pulled him, and he just like
Kept
tumbled
going.
onto the floor. And then I ended up on top of him, and I can't remember throwing any punches, to tell you the truth. I'd have to ask him. But everybody were that round us and that. They were spitting on us, they were kicking us and everything. And then
your only hope is that one of the teachers gets wind of it and can
said
get it quick enough, can't they?
He said he'd had enough, so he just says I've had enough.
You got tap out then.
Yeah, so we get up, and everybody was like congratulating me, thinking, I'm thinking, oh, it's brilliant this.
Yeah.
Goes to his lesson, and then I hears off somebody. He says he weren't ready. He wants another fate.
They're never ready.
He wants another fate, but not not on Squill.
Yeah.
Up at bus stop. I'm like, oh no, like
part 2.
So anyway, we went up to the bus stop after Squill, but only a few of us, and we stood staring at each other and talking to each other, and he's like saying, right then, he says, if you get me down, you've got to there's no hitting in face and all this, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Anyway, we ended up.
It's not Queensberry's.
We set off, and I just grabbed him again, put him on floor, and he said, "Right, you've won," and that's how I remember it. And anyway, we never had any trouble after that until 5th years, which were like probably my worst time at school. 5th years, like, because I'd gone from on. First years,
You've gone from films. You've gone from
voted,
stage.
I got voted. They had a vote for like top girl and top boy.
Yeah.
Keel Errington got top girl, and Dean Croft got top boy. Voted for all year. Had to vote all our year. He put the pictures up in to put the pictures up in Allway. Them two together, and then they had like a second in command, and I got voted second most popular lad,
right.
and Bevcroft got second most popular lass, and that was probably the best time. Couldn't get any higher than that, but from there, my popularity.
Too soon.
I think it was. I didn't think I would. I'd have to ask people, but my social skills weren't brilliant.
Right.
Talking to lasses and stuff, and I don't know. I thought I was all right, but my popularity went.
It waned
up to halfway through school, and then there were pockets of lasses who kind of, when they were in the gangs, they didn't like me. But if they talked to me just on my own, they got to like me. So then I kind of got me, not popularity, but I kind of got my thing back where I kind of talked to a few different ones, and on my own, I think they thought I was all right.
Yeah.
But when they were in gang with the main gang of lasses, I think it weren't good to like me.
All right.
So
our friends owned me at school.
Oh
completely.
yeah.
Oh yeah, nightmare. I had it. Worst thing. It was worst. The best thing that happened to me. I had braces put in at probably about 13.
Yeah.
So I might as well have had plague for braces, because it doesn't matter what your face looked like. I told you before, I was like angelic kid, blonde haired, blue eyed, and that, skinny as hell. But I had braces in, and I had proper braces in. Train tracks, cost a fortune.
Yeah.
I've got an auntie who works at orthodontics in Barnsley, and my teeth were a bit crooked, so I had a load of work done. I had the like contraptions in my mouth and everything. I had them in for 5 years, so I was 17 just before, and honestly, I might as well have had plague. It were, you didn't get anywhere with girls, and immediately after I had them taken out, I cleaned up with lasses. I tell you, it were like God's gift for a couple of years after that. And that's what went wrong. Don't have braces. No, I do have braces. It was the best thing I ever did.
Well, like I said, I were always we all like that.
Our friend zone.
But this with Charlie, I knocked him out with Rushy again. God bless him. Rushy's he's dead now. I knocked him out with Rushy. Like my mum thought he were a wrong un, so a bad un. But he was funny. He was funniest kid at school. You know what I mean? And what happened with me was, our school in second years, you took exams to see what you were going to be taking. What exams you're going to take. So there were GCSEs. What the GCSE? What are they now? No, so there were CSEs.
There were CSEs, right, weren't there?
So,
and then I think we did GCSEs and something else now.
So
there were O levels as well. Weren't
our school year was split into four. So you had A, B, C, and D, and the bottom two classes took CSEs.
Yeah.
Your top two classes took O levels.
Right. Okay.
That's how it worked. And in second years, you took exams to see which class you were going to be in.
Yeah.
So they put you in provisional classes to start with.
Yeah.
And then that year, them were your options. So you were in whatever class. And it did what it said on tin. So A, what smart class, B, what second smart class, C, and D, what them that weren't as clever. Probably. Took my exams and everything. But when I first got there, I was in 1C. And then I was in 2C next year.
Yeah. Took
my exams and I got put into 3C. And it just killed me pig. I was like, Tim Barker, who I knocked about with at the time, he got put into 2B. Amy were in my class in 2C. And he'd drew a straw where he'd got to be in 3C, but his mum went up and complained.
Oh, I've heard that before.
Yeah,
and you got bumped up straight away.
And he got bumped up.
Yeah,
and I was a bit, not upset, but I was a bit peed off that my mum didn't go up. And
yeah.
But then I've spoke to her since, and she says, "Well, you never mentioned it," and I thought, well, I probably didn't. But
it's these little things that can change your life, isn't it?
I didn't try after that, mate.
Yeah.
It's like, after that, I felt as if I were in class with, I felt as though I should have been in class above. I felt, it sounds awful, but I did feel brainier than class that I were in.
Yeah.
Even though all them that were in our class, they were fantastic.
What got me about this, and I'm not sure if they still do it now, is they put you in these lower groups, but you can't achieve any. They hamstring you straight away, don't they? Academics, you can't fail up. No matter how good you got it, you could only ever get.
Yeah.
There's no. You can't get top marks.
With CSEs, they said you can get an O level if you get.
You've got to get 95%. Yeah, 99%. Whereas if you're in top group, it's 40% or something like something ridiculous.
This is it.
Absolutely crazy. Let's punish kids at bottom end.
I saw that straight away.
Yeah.
And I says, only thing I could have thought that I could have got an O level in was woodwork.
Yeah.
And I still didn't get one in that and I thought I would have done, but it was like, and I just thought,
so if you think about it, if you were going to put it into like a physical sports perspective, right? Yeah. You're going to do 100 meters, but best runners, they're going to start at 30-meter line, and worst runners, they're going to start at 120 meters back, and then we're going to see who's going to win. So it's crazy.
So it kind of proper killed me pig. I just went, do you know what? I'm not going to even try, and I purposely didn't revise. I don't like that, and I moonwalked these CSEs. I moonwalked to me. I got 9, because in my head I just thought you only have to write your name on top of paper.
Yeah,
you must have to be thick as oat to fail them.
Yeah, were they that easy? Were they?
I thought they were.
Yeah,
I thought they were. I didn't really know how to revise, so I just went in, did exams, and I just knew that I couldn't fail. I'd had to be really thick to get an F in a CSE.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, you're gonna pass. So I kind of got like C's and D's and B's. I think I got a B in woodwork, but So I just didn't try, but I knew I'd pass them, and then and then we decided to. Well, they asked everybody. They come round and said, if you're leaving school, you can go and take this test up at Barnsley College.
Yeah.
And it'll tell you if you want to have a trade, you can be. They're doing a new course which is CITB. You take a test and they'll tell you what you can do. Again, it will like you to get top marks to be an electrician. Then a bit further down you could be a plumber, and then a bit further down it was joiner, and then it was bricky plasterer and painter.
I've got a theory about this as well now.
Go on then.
So I was thinking about this the other day. We spoke about it before, haven't we? It's how likely you are to die, I think. So electrician, you only get one chance. Electrician, you get one chance, and or there's a few that get belted, don't they? Then it's plumbers, and you're either.
But this is where
it could be gas. It could be gas, or knee deep in shit.
But this is where I've got that. Now thinking about it, this is where that tree of trades comes from.
Yeah.
It's that. So you had to be brainy to be an electrician. So you had to get top marks. Well, obviously I took it, and they said I could be a bricky or a plasterer.
Yeah.
So I decided I wanted to be a bricky.
So what tier were you? 3 or 4?
Tier.
Is bricky after joiner? What it?
Yeah, it's on a par with plasterer. So I think all three of them.
So they're like tier 2. Tier 1's
no, I think the tier 3.
Plumber.
I think tier 1's electrician.
Just straight electrician for tier 1.
And then plumber, tier 2. And then you've got joiner, builder, plasterer, and then painter.
Tiler.
They didn't. When I went to college, they didn't have a tiling course.
Right.
But tiler probably goes in there with
joiner.
In fact,
we know some tilers, don't we?
No, I'm gonna put painter on
tier 3.
Yeah, with them now, because
we've not had any complaints, have we?
No, but this is me thinking from olden days, from what you had to do, from your marks that you got. So
it's gold standard, sparky.
Yeah, so there shouldn't be any bottom rung. But so we're going to put painter back up a rung with plasterers.
So we're on a 3-tier system now.
But also edging my bets. So I went and said I'd be a bricklayer, but edging my bets. Because they were going to get a company for you, and I think we mentioned this in one of the first podcasts or one of the podcasts. They said that they were going to ring me and let me know what company that I'd got. And they never rung me. I was working at Lions on part-time. My mum got me a job as a school leaver.
So Lions is a big industrial bakery.
Yeah, it's called Manor Bakery now, I think. Well, it might have even changed its name again.
It's been on TV.
Is it Mr. Kipling now?
Yeah. They make all Christmas mince pies, don't they,
for
Christmas?
So she got me a job there and I was doing that. Anyway, they never contacted me all summer, and then my mum rung them up and said, "Well, what about Simon? Have you got him a company?" And they said no. They said, "We'll ring you back later." And obviously they thought we were going to get a company, but on paperwork it said they would get us a sponsored company. Phoned up, says there's no available place for bricklayers, but companies, but we've got a place at SM Halls. You can have that. So I says, as a plasterer, I didn't know what a plasterer did. So I went, yeah, I'll do that. But what I was going to say is, so I got that. Me and a kid called Chris Amnett, I'd for some reason, I just thought, because you could go and take a test at college to be an hairdresser.
Yep.
And I just thought, women, carrying a pair of scissors ain't going to be hard.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind being an hairdresser.
I think it was seen as quite a glamorous job, weren't it?
Yeah.
Back in there.
So me and Amy went and took that test. Failed it.
Yeah.
Failed it. Yeah. Failed it. I'm saying failed it. I think they wanted women to be mainly women.
Right.
Because I think there were only one. I was just going to say one lad that did it, but I'm going to say Andrew Barton. But I don't know whether he's younger than me.
Former British hairdresser at you.
Yeah, but I don't know whether he did that. He did do that course because when we used to go up with plastering, we used to go up to cafe.
Yeah.
Andrew used to be sat with him, so I knew a few lasses who were on his course. So
Yeah.
he used to say up like. I can also remember seeing him in cafe because they used to do it late and eat. But I don't know whether he worked for a shop and went one day a week. But I remember seeing him in that group. Yeah. So do you want to call time?
Yeah. So on that note, I think so. We've gone through Sam's former years, junior years. I think we're on about 6 out of 9 lives, and I'm not sure what his rap sheet is yet. We're up to about 5 or 6 what would you call it? Different types of crime?
Felonies.
Felonies, that's it.
American.
Yeah, we're up to 5 or 6 felonies.
But we'll take it up to that we're up to just leaving school.
Leaving school.
And then on next part we can do my jobs.
Join us for part 2, where we'll be talking about Sam's training and then on to work life.